Rock 100.5 KATT. I am Cameron Buchholtz here with Dan from Disturbed. What's going on, man?
Not a whole lot. How you doing?
Doing well, doing well. But it's an exciting time for the bands. You're like 2 weeks away from your eighth album.
Yeah, I know. Finally, it's always tough, when we finish an album and then we have to sit on it for like half a year until it comes out. So, we're pretty excited to finally get this material, coming out soon, and can't wait to see the fans, reaction to it, and then us being able to get back out on the road next year and play some of this stuff live.
Yeah, that's kind of an interesting thing right now, is because you guys don't really have any tour dates announced yet. Have you guys ever released an album and not had a tour kind of immediately following?
Hopefully we'll be able to announce soon. It's definitely in the works. We just finished up we headlined a bunch of festivals this summer, and just setting up this release. But we do have stuff on paper that we looked at and we agreed to it. Now it's in the hands of our management and our booking agent and the promoters to make it logistically make sense of the routing. So hopefully we'll have something we could announce soon.
Was there any reason why you guys aren't out on the road like now, like a fall tour around the album?
No, we just finished a couple of weeks ago in Dallas, a big show we did out there. And like I said, we were just doing these festivals mainly. And then this was just, I don't know, maybe this coming late in the end of the year here. I think we were just doing more press stuff and preparing for, just a more productive show. Plus we wanted, unfortunately, let time pass a little bit with, now that things are kind of slowly returning to normal. But it's been challenging for a lot of bands too, as you may have heard, just logistically because of inflation. So a lot of these artists I've seen, especially over in Europe, I know that Shinedown had to postpone their tour, Anthrax, I think a few others, because a lot of that stuff is skyrocketed on prices, on obviously fuel cost and production cost and trucking cost and travel. So it's been a little challenging for a lot of these artists to go out and do all these tours. So that's why I said we're just trying to make sure that with the promoter, we could do a proper routing, so we don't run into that same problem of having to postpone any dates. So
sure.
It's just unfortunately the nature of the environment right now. It's just a little challenging.
Sure. But now you've got 3 songs out right now from the records. And do you think those 3 songs that are out give people a good idea of the record as a whole?
I think so. I think it was a good, a good impression of letting fans know. I know we've mentioned before that this album was going to be, a little bit heavier and getting back to a little bit more of that signature Disturbed sound, those early elements of bigger, guitar riffs and syncopated drums, and more the animalistic side of David. Like you may have seen off the earlier albums with The Sickness or 10,000 Fist album. I've seen a lot of people comparing it to those 2 albums. But it just, when it came to writing this album too, we may have discussed those things of wanting to bring it back to that, those elements back to the forefront. But it really comes down to getting in the room and just letting it naturally happen. And we just happen to be in the same headspace of where we wanted to take this material.
Gotcha. And Unstoppable especially is kind of the big anthemic song, which you guys are really good at. It seems like you guys have at least one of those songs on every record. And is that kind of a thing on purpose that you're like, okay, we got to get this one?
Kind of. I guess it's a bit of a conscious effort. I mean, we've done it with Indestructible and a few others of that kind of big fight song. And I guess a lot of it is really lyrically and subject matter is usually dictated by how the music feels. David, if he's, and that was just one of those songs. It was just, I had that riff. It was just heavy and it was just driving like foot on the gas pedal and like no really letting up on it. And it was just kind of in your face and just heavier. And it just felt kind of like this is becoming that fight song of the album, So I guess we do probably typically have, just depending on the mood, just we felt energetic and felt like something that was going to be a little bit more in your face. And that kind of, that's usually what dictates what he's going to write lyrically about.
Gotcha. And the title of the album, Divisive, kind of tell me about where that come from and how it relates to the album as a whole. I know there's a title track as well that you guys have out, but
Right. I mean, obviously the way the world's been lately and just the division, not just around the world, but obviously mainly here in the US, it's just, we've become so combative and so irrational and divided. And, it's like people, I think they look forward to getting up in the morning to get on social media to see what they could bitch about and who can they complain about and who can they cancel and try, just because they don't agree with each other. They have difference of opinion. So instead of having respect for each other and having a friendly debate, everybody, just gets so offended and just wants to ruin other people's lives because they don't agree with them, so it's just kind of a sad thing that we've become so divided. And with a single like, Hey You, or even the title track Divisive, even though it's like a negative topic, we're trying to shed light on it for us to have more of a wake-up call, for us to realize, that we got to stop with this temper tantrum and this childish behavior that's sent us down this downward spiral of just lack of respect for everyone, and we've all fallen to that one time or another. I'm guilty of it at times too, where I take the bait. And then next thing you know, you're in an argument with a friend or a family member or a stranger on social media. It's like, what's going on here? You got to kind of pull back a minute and be like, it's not worth, damaging these relationships and friendships over difference of opinions. Me and my best friend have different political views, but we don't fight. We're still best friends. We don't allow it to affect our relationship. I think it's important to be respectful and have a friendly debate. And, the point is to educate each other. If you and I have difference of opinions, I'd rather you and I treat each other with respect. I hear your points of views of why you feel a certain way. And then I could hopefully I learned something from that, and I take something from that. And if we still disagree, that's okay. We could still be friends. We could still be respectful. So we're trying to shed light on this. I'm not saying we're going to save the world with this, but it just kind of hopefully make people realize, we just got to be a little bit more respectful to each other. And, it's okay to debate it. It's okay to have difference of opinions, but, ultimately, we got to quit with these tantrums.
Sure. And it's got to be, you guys are in a little bit of a different situation because David is so outspoken that I imagine, in the comment sections of various social media things, I'd imagine there's a lot of what you're talking about when David says certain things.
Right. Of course, he is a very vocal guy, and he's, obviously being the front man of the band, a lot of times he'll take the bait a little bit more. It's easier to pull him in a debate. He's very educated and very opinionated, and it doesn't mean, we agree on everything together either. Sometimes it's okay. Just like if you're in a marriage, you don't always agree with your wife or vice versa. I mean, but once again, it's just all about just trying to understand and be open enough to listen to somebody instead of trying to yell over the top of each other.
Sure. And I guess this is essentially your COVID album. I mean, basically everyone is kind of releasing that right now. So tell me about how that affected things. Like, were you guys able to write in person, or was it a thing where you were, sending tracks from across the country? I don't know if you guys live on the same place or not.
No, we're all in different states. At the very start in 2020, right before COVID hit, or before we even knew what it was, me and Mike flew out to visit David, and he was living in Hawaii at the time because that's where his wife grew up, in Hawaii, and they have a young son, and they wanted to be closer to her parents to kind of, be around the grandparents and that. And we flew out there to meet with David, and we were going to start the writing session early 2020. And, I wasn't really in a good headspace at the time. I was going through some stuff with my marriage, and Mike just went through a divorce, and I was in the process of it. And so it was tough to get it going. And then like a month later, then all of a sudden this pandemic hits, and, we didn't know nobody knew. Everybody in the world's being told 2 weeks to flatten the curve, and we think it's going to be done. And
it'll be over by Easter.
Right. So we had big plans to tour that year because it was the 20th anniversary of the sickness. So we were going to do a big tour in the summer at pavilions, and obviously that all got pushed back. So then it was like, well, the only thing we could do at the time is write and record. That's a lot of bands were doing. It was the only thing they can, because nobody could return to live music at the time. And it just took a while to get over the hump. For the first time in our careers, everything usually starts with me musically, with ideas that I present to the guys or to David. And, I was in a bit of a funk. I was dealing with the divorce. I was dealing with having our careers, the path put on pause for a bit with the tour. And I just couldn't really get focused on it, and so it was a bit of a struggle. And then when we decided to do a few shows last fall of 2021, that was the first time we got together, the four of us, all in the same room after about 2 years, 2 years. So that was tough, being away from, your bros, your best friends that and not to see them. So once we were on the road, we did a handful of shows, and we were headed down to Florida, and we had a couple of days off. And I had arranged to meet up with producer Dave Fortman, who lives in Fort Myers, Florida. And he's one of the original guitar players from that band, Ugly Kid Joe. And he's gone on to produce, after his career with them, he was gone on to produce like Evanescence and Slipknot and Godsmack and a handful of really good albums. And we went down there just to kind of get together, and it was so stripped down. It was in his condo. We didn't even go into the studio. We just wanted a writing session and demo stuff. So it was literally, he had electronic drum kit. Mike jumps on the kit. I just grab a guitar off the wall, and it was like, let's just start improvising. And that's what got the ball rolling. It got us excited again, because now we're just in a room together for the first time and just improvising these ideas. And then we only spent like 2 days in there. So we weren't even like really trying to get quality demos out of it. We were just trying to just record the improv ideas. But it was enough to get us in the mindset of like, and focus on a goal of getting into the studio by February of 2022. So it definitely got us motivated and ready.
Gotcha. Now, you mentioned the 20th anniversary of the sickness that obviously didn't happen. Coming on the tour next year, are you guys going to is there any sort of harken back to that? Is it going to be a 22-year anniversary or,
I don't know. I know at first I thought, do we just, okay, so we get a mulligan after the first year. I thought, could we do it in 21? And that didn't happen. Now 22's past, almost done. So I don't know if we wait till 25 at this point,
Right. And you've got to be coming up on the 20th anniversary of 10,000 Fists as well. I don't know exactly when that is, but it's got to be soon. Yeah,
that's got to be soon too. Because we did, well, let's see. I guess, Believe would have been the next one.
Oh, okay.
And then 10,000 Fists. So I think 10,000 Fists is probably closer towards
2005 or 6. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not really sure when that anniversary tour is going to happen. Most likely it would probably make sense if we held off to the 25th anniversary now instead of the 22nd or 23rd. But we still play, even when we play live, we try to balance out the whole catalog as much as we can, from each era of Disturbed, because they're still important to us too. We want to play, those albums as much as I can't wait to play the new material. We're always excited to have a new album, new material, and see how that goes over live too. But we spread it out as much as we can in the show to give everybody a taste of every album.
Totally, man. Well, Dan, I appreciate the time and stoked for the new record. And hopefully we'll see you back out on the road here next year.
All right. Thank you, brother.